Okay, this is part 2, and we're going to talk about the causes of autism. And I'm going to start with a paper that was published last year in 2024, April 2024. It came out during Autism Acceptance Month and HIE Awareness Month with this crossover in April. This graph was a part of that, and it's a little bit hard to read and I didn't recreate the graph, but it's a little bit hard to read because it is black text on a gray background, not ideal for this small screen that everyone watches this on. But we're going to go over it, and I'm going to blow up each of the boxes so you can see as well. So what I think was really amazing about this paper is that it really breaks down the etiology or the causation, the buckets that go into causing autism. And again, it's like this flow, right? It's like, what are the things that can lead to autism to get a diagnosis? And then what is the spectrum of impact? And, again, that's kind of how a lot of these diagnoses, epilepsy, CP, all these big buckets, they have a spectrum and have a lot more in depth when we break apart that bucket and dig deeper. So this paper was co-authored by a few different researchers. One is Dr. Stephen Lazar. We've had him as a guest on our Q&As. He is a child neurologist that is an expert in neurodevelopmental disabilities, and he has been doing a lot of work in autism and other neurology-related things that impact kids, including HIE. And so this comes from that. Again, this paper is available, the links and everything on our website, in our advocacy and research group on Facebook. So you're welcome to, look at that. And then there's all sorts of references from this that they pulled to write this. Okay, so we're going to break apart the pyramid. At the top, it talks about the specific kind of impairment or what autism, the problem is with it, right? So there's many different schools of thought, and there's a lot of context and nuance behind this. So it's very nuanced, just like HIE. And I think from Hope for HIE's perspective, like our goal for HIE is to decrease the incidence and impact of HIE. So, and that can be reducing CP, epilepsy, autism, things like that. It's not to cure, it's not to devalue our kids and adults that are living with HIE and the impacts. But I think everyone deserves a good quality of life. And we know that as parents, we are also looking at how we can improve our child's quality of life so they can have meaning and purpose. And that is not to say that that is related to how they are going to, if they could ever hold a job or, or pay taxes or anything like that. So I just want to clarify that when we talk about decreasing the incidence and impact, it is really about improving the quality of life for kids. And there are so many things that are really heartbreaking with HIE. So that is our philosophy, is to look at that and to also love and appreciate and know that all of the brains are beautiful in our community, and that neurodiversity is amazing, and that people thinking in different and unique ways is a great way to bring new ideas to the forefront and look at systemic issues. And the biggest impacts are that our families and families that face autism and other diagnoses don't get the social support they need to be successful. And so when we talk about causation, we're going to start with this. Again, that, it's how people think, feel, and participate socially and behaviorally. And so when we talk about etiology or the cause, there's two different buckets that they talk through. And again, these kind of all flow. You can see the arrows that go through. So I'm going to pop up these two bottom buckets and talk about them a little bit. So neurobiologic factors, you're going to see above there, 80 to 90% of autism has been identified because there's global data that has been done on this. This is not just a United States issue. This is a prevalence issue around the world. And it's not really, we just know more. This is like, we test more. It's like HIE. There's a lot of kids that had HIE before cooling that were never diagnosed officially because they didn't have a therapy and an intervention for it. So this is, again, kind of a concurrent pathway of understanding. So 80 to 90% are genetic influences, so either inherited or a part of a genetic mutation. So like the SYNGAPs, that's one that there's advocacy behind. Autism, behavior, epilepsy, all these buckets, just like HIE has these buckets of impacts. So they're looking at disease modifying therapeutic development to help that population, which could decrease decrease the impact of epilepsy and all the things that go into SYNGAP and improve the quality of life for these kids and families that grow up to be adults. Metabolic prematurity. So newborn brains are very fragile and premature brains are even more fragile. So prematurity, stress, so being in the NICU, whatever stress contributed to being premature a lot of times, toxic stress, maternal toxic stress has a neurobiological impact on babies that can cause autism. So if you look at what the environmental impact is, and people are like, we don't know, there's things that we can all agree on, that stress in our society and around the world has a toxic effect on babies. And impacts their biology and their neurology as they grow. Hypoxic ischemic is on there, HIE, is a cause, which we know. Structural brain abnormalities, so those are going to be, cortical dysplasia or other lissencephaly, all sorts of structural congenital malformations and things like that. Something went wrong in brain development in utero. Again, infection, so CMV and other things can impact the brain in different ways. And then trauma, so a TBI, we know that, like any sort of brain injury can lead to, the signs and symptoms of autism. Environmental experiences, another big bucket. Again, developmental stimulation. So if kids are not getting stimulated in all the good home environment ways that they need to, and there is a huge body of research on this, again, globally, they have the opportunity to have their brain grow in a way that would be cause dysfunction, lead to different things with an eventual diagnosis of autism or other behavioral challenges. Adverse childhood experiences, ACEs, if you've heard of that. We know that the funding for that is getting defunded at the CDC right now, so that's unfortunate. And then the social determinants of health are really important. So we know that those are some of the greatest contributors to neurodevelopmental disabilities and neurological changes. So again, I think this is really helpful. And if you want to look up more information, you can head to our website, hopeforhi.org, in the search bar up there. Make sure that you're searching for autism and it's going to pop out all of it.